From the moment she walked into the office, the air shifted. She was bold, loud, and exuded authority, but not in the inspiring way a leader should. Instead, her demeanor screamed arrogance, as if she already knew more than anyone else. The whispers started almost immediately, with my coworkers speculating how long she would last. For me, it was a red flag, but I chose to stay optimistic for now. Her first official meeting was a disaster. She dismissed years of processes and ideas as outdated and irrelevant without giving them a second glance. To her, the team wasn't a group of experienced professionals, but merely tools to execute her grand plans. I tried to speak up, suggesting that some systems worked well for a reason, but she cut me off, her tone dripping with condescension. The team's morale took a nosedive. Even those who were usually unfazed by management changes began to feel uneasy. She had an uncanny ability to make everyone feel small, and her focus seemed to be more on control than collaboration. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something bigger, and not in a good way. As the weeks went by, her methods only grew more questionable. Policies changed overnight without explanation. The work culture we had spent years building began to crumble, replaced by tension and uncertainty. It was clear that she wasn't here to adapt to us. She was determined to mold the office into her vision, no matter the cost. I started to document everything, every offhand remark, every questionable decision, and every time she belittled a team member in front of others. At the time, I wasn't sure why I felt compelled to do so, but something told me I'd need those notes someday. Her blatant disregard for the team's well-being became harder to ignore. People began calling out sick more often, and water-cooler conversations turned into venting sessions. It wasn't just her attitude. It was the growing realization that she didn't value any of us. Little did she know, her arrogance and disregard for the team's expertise would soon come back to haunt her. But I had no idea just how personal this battle would become. One Monday morning, I received an email that made my stomach drop. It was a curt message from her, informing me that my salary had been adjusted to better align with company goals. No prior warning, no discussion, just a sterile, corporate-sounding justification for what felt like a blatant slap in the face. I couldn't believe it. My work ethic had always been solid, my contributions significant, and my performance reviews glowing. Yet here I was penalized without reason. When I confronted her about it, she barely looked up from her laptop, dismissing me with a line about restructuring and urging me to prove my worth if I wanted to regain what I had lost. It wasn't just me. Soon, I learned that several others had also faced similar cuts, each with their own vague explanation. The office buzzed with frustration and confusion. How could someone new to the company so boldly undermine her team? It was like she was trying to set us up for failure. The financial strain hit hard. I had bills to pay, commitments to keep, and a sense of security that was now completely shattered. But more than the money, it was the principle that stung the most. After years of loyalty and hard work, this was how I was being rewarded? At home, I vented to my closest friends and family. While they sympathized, they also encouraged me to think strategically. Quitting was tempting, but I wasn't ready to give her the satisfaction of pushing me out. Instead, I decided to channel my anger into determination. I started keeping meticulous records of my work, every completed task, every extra effort. If she wanted proof of my worth, I'd give her more than she could handle. Little did she know, I wasn't just documenting my achievements. I was building a case. The team rallied quietly, supporting one another in ways she didn't realize. While she tried to divide us, her tactics inadvertently strengthened our bonds. Together, we started planning for the long game, knowing that her reign couldn't last forever. It happened during a team meeting, a public humiliation designed to put me in my place. She singled me out, questioning a project I had led successfully months ago. "This is what incompetence looks like," she said, her tone dripping with disdain. The room fell silent, the tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. I felt my face flush with a mix of anger and embarrassment. She didn't even have her facts straight. The project had been a success, praised by both clients and upper management at the time. But that didn't matter to her. She was determined to undermine me in front of everyone. Her words stung, but they also lit a fire inside me. I refused to let her rewrite history or tarnish my reputation. As soon as the meeting ended, I calmly approached her and requested a one-on-one conversation. Her dismissive smirk told me she didn't take me seriously, but I wasn't about to back down. In our meeting, I presented a detailed breakdown of the project's results, including data, client feedback, and emails from leadership praising my efforts. She barely glanced at the documents before brushing them aside. "You can manipulate numbers all you want," she said, "but I know incompetence when I see it." Her refusal to acknowledge the truth was infuriating, but I remained composed. I realized then that no amount of logic or evidence would change her mind. She wasn't interested in facts. She was interested in control. I confided in a trusted coworker who shared similar experiences of being unjustly criticized. Together, we began to see a pattern. Her need to tear others down to elevate herself. It wasn't about us. It was about her insecurities. Despite the emotional toll, I refused to let her break me. I focused on my work, knowing that my actions would speak louder than her words. And as her grip on the office tightened, so did my resolve to stay true to my values. After the repeated insults and unjust accusations, I knew I had two choices: let her crush my spirit or respond with calculated precision. I chose the latter. It wasn't just about defending myself anymore. It was about preserving my dignity and showing her, and everyone else, that I wasn't someone to be underestimated. The first step was to take a step back and analyze the situation objectively. While her behavior was infuriating, reacting impulsively would only feed into her narrative of incompetence. Instead, I started observing her closely, noting patterns in her leadership or lack thereof. She thrived on chaos and control, using fear as her primary tool. This realization became the foundation of my strategy. I made it a point to focus on what I could control: my performance. I doubled down on my projects, ensuring every task I completed was flawless. Each email, report, and presentation was a testament to my professionalism. If she wanted to label me as incompetent, she would have to work harder to find actual evidence. But I didn't stop there. I began quietly building alliances within the company. Coworkers who had also fallen victim to her sharp tongue and erratic decisions became my support network. Together, we shared insights, kept each other motivated, and even collaborated on projects to ensure mutual success. Outside of work, I sought advice from mentors and friends in similar fields. Their perspective was invaluable, reminding me to play the long game and not let her short-sighted actions derail my career. I started attending workshops and networking events, expanding my skills and connections. One of the most empowering steps I took was setting boundaries. While I maintained professionalism, I refused to let her words define my self-worth. I stopped internalizing her negativity and reminded myself daily of my accomplishments and strengths. As weeks turned into months, my confidence grew. I wasn't just surviving under her leadership. I was thriving despite it. And while she may not have noticed the shift, others in the office did. Slowly but surely, the tide was beginning to turn. It started with little things: missed deadlines, overlooked details, and a growing pile of unresolved issues. For someone who claimed to know better than anyone else, her leadership flaws were becoming increasingly apparent. The cracks in her facade were small at first, but they widened with every misstep. Her insistence on micromanaging every aspect of the office backfired spectacularly. Instead of streamlining operations, her interference created bottlenecks. Projects stalled as she second-guessed every decision, and clients began to notice the delays. The same team she had belittled was now scrambling to fix problems she had created. The turning point came when a high-profile client raised concerns about the company's recent performance. She deflected the blame, pointing fingers at the team, but the evidence painted a different picture. Internal reports showed that her last-minute changes and lack of direction were the root of the issues. For the first time, her authority was being questioned. Her inability to take responsibility further alienated the team. People stopped going to her for guidance, relying instead on each other to navigate the chaos. Meetings became tense, with her frustration spilling over into unprofessional outbursts. It was clear she was losing control, and the respect she once demanded had all but evaporated. Despite the growing unrest, she remained oblivious to the damage she was causing. In her mind, the team's struggles validated her belief that we were incompetent. But her denial only fueled our resolve to work harder, not for her, but for ourselves and the reputation of the company. Behind the scenes, whispers of dissatisfaction reached upper management. Anonymous complaints were filed, detailing her behavior and its impact on the team. While she remained focused on asserting her dominance, others were quietly laying the groundwork for her eventual downfall. By this point, it was no longer just about my personal battle with her. The entire office was caught in the storm she had created. And as the signs of collapse grew more obvious, I couldn't help but feel that the moment of reckoning was just around the corner. The moment everyone had been anticipating finally arrived. It started with a mistake so glaring that even her staunchest supporters in upper management couldn't ignore it. A major project deadline was missed, costing the company a significant client. This time, there was no one else to blame. She tried a course. During an emergency meeting called to address the fallout, she pointed fingers at various team members, attempting to shift accountability. But the evidence was irrefutable. Emails, meeting notes, and task logs all painted a clear picture. Her last-minute interference and lack of clear directives had led to the debacle. The once confident leader who had strutted into the office now looked visibly shaken. Her voice faltered as she attempted to explain herself, and her trademark arrogance seemed to fade under the weight of the scrutiny. It was the first time we saw her facade crack, revealing a glimpse of vulnerability beneath. The team, meanwhile, remained composed. We had grown used to working around her inefficiencies, and though the mistake had affected us all, we had prepared ourselves for moments like this. While she scrambled to deflect blame, we presented a plan to salvage the situation, impressing upper management with our professionalism and teamwork. Rumors began circulating that her position was under review. Her once dominant presence in the office diminished, and she started avoiding direct interactions with the team. Meetings became less frequent, and when she did appear, she seemed uncertain, even timid. Despite her fall from grace, I couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. While part of me felt vindicated, another part recognized the humanity in her struggle. She had been so consumed by her need for control and authority that she had isolated herself completely. Now, she was paying the price. Little did she know, the worst was yet to come. As the pressure mounted, she found herself in a position she never expected, needing help from the very people she had tried to tear down. It was a quiet afternoon when the email arrived. Her name in the sender line immediately caught my attention. The subject line read, "Urgent assistance needed." For a moment, I thought it was a mistake. Why would she, of all people, ask for my help? Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened the email. The tone was drastically different from her usual blunt and condescending style. She was polite, almost apologetic, explaining that a critical client project was on the verge of collapse and that she needed someone experienced to step in immediately. I couldn't believe it. This was the same person who had called me incompetent in front of the entire team. Now, she was practically begging for my expertise. The irony wasn't lost on me, but I knew this was more than just a personal victory. It was an opportunity to show everyone, including her, the kind of professional I truly was. When I walked in her office to discuss the situation, she looked different, tired, stressed, and far less self-assured. For the first time, she seemed to view me as an equal rather than someone to belittle. Her tone was measured as she explained the details of the project, and she even acknowledged that she had been too harsh in the past. The team was surprised when I agreed to help. Some questioned my decision, reminding me of everything she had done. But I saw this as a chance to rise above the pettiness and prove that professionalism and integrity could triumph over toxicity. The project wasn't easy. It required long hours, collaboration with multiple departments, and an almost impossible turnaround time. But with the team's support and my determination, we managed to pull it off. The client was thrilled, and upper management took notice of the effort that went into saving the account. The experience left her humbled. While she never outright apologized, her behavior toward me and the rest of the team noticeably improved. For the first time, it felt like we were working toward a common goal rather than against each other. In the aftermath of the project's success, she surprised me once again. During a one-on-one meeting, she offered me a promotion, a chance to step into a leadership role with a significant salary increase. On paper, it was everything I had worked for, but accepting it meant working closely with her, and I wasn't sure if I could trust her newfound humility. I spent days weighing the decision. On one hand, it was an opportunity to advance my career and prove that I could lead effectively, even in a challenging environment. On the other hand, I couldn't ignore the emotional toll her previous behavior had taken on me and the team. I sought advice from mentors and friends, each offering different perspectives. Some said I should take the promotion and use the position to create positive change. Others warned me that her behavior might only be temporarily improved and that I should proceed with caution. In the end, I decided to set my terms. I agreed to the promotion, but made it clear that I expected open communication, mutual respect, and autonomy in my role. I also advocated for better treatment of the entire team, ensuring that no one else would endure what I had experienced. To my surprise, she accepted my conditions without hesitation. It was a small victory, but an important one. While I still had reservations about working under her, I felt more confident knowing I had taken a stand for myself and my colleagues. The decision marked a turning point, not just for my career, but for my perspective on leadership and resilience. I had faced adversity head-on and emerged stronger, proving that integrity and professionalism could prevail even in the most toxic environments. With the promotion secured and the project successfully completed, I shifted my focus to leading by example. I knew actions would speak louder than words, especially in an office where morale had been shaken by months of chaos. My first priority was to rebuild trust within the team. I started small, taking time to listen to my colleagues' concerns and ideas. I wanted them to feel valued and heard, something that had been sorely lacking under her leadership. Slowly but surely, the atmosphere began to shift. People who had been disengaged started contributing again, and collaboration replaced the tension that had dominated our interactions. At the same time, I made a conscious effort to avoid falling into the same traps as my predecessor. Instead of micromanaging, I empowered my team to take ownership of their work. Instead of tearing them down, I celebrated their successes, no matter how small. The results were immediate and undeniable. Productivity soared, and even clients noticed the difference. My relationship with her also took an interesting turn. While she remained in her position, she seemed to adopt a more hands-off approach, perhaps realizing that her methods hadn't worked. Occasionally, she would seek my input on decisions, something I never thought I'd see. It wasn't an apology, but it was a tacit acknowledgement of my value. I continued documenting my achievements, not out of fear, but as a way to track my growth. Each success felt like a quiet rebuttal to her past accusations, a way to prove my worth without ever needing to confront her directly. And while I didn't expect gratitude or validation from her, I took pride in knowing that my efforts had made a tangible impact. By focusing on the bigger picture, I had not only redeemed myself in the eyes of my peers and superiors, but had also reclaimed my confidence. I realized that true leadership wasn't about power or control. It was about inspiring and uplifting others. What started as a toxic work environment had transformed into an opportunity for growth and resilience. And as I looked back on everything I had endured, I felt nothing but gratitude for the lessons it had taught me. The journey had been anything but easy, but it left me with a wealth of lessons that I carried forward in both my career and personal life. The first and most important, never let someone else's opinion define your worth. Her harsh words and baseless accusations have been painful, but they had also taught me the value of self-belief. Respect, I learned, is a two-way street. While her initial approach had been rooted in dominance, true respect is earned through kindness, understanding, and mutual effort. Watching her struggle to regain the team's trust was a stark reminder that fear-based leadership is a losing game. I also discovered the power of resilience. There were moments when I wanted to quit, to walk away from the stress and toxicity. But staying the course allowed me to not only survive but thrive. It reminded me that adversity can be a catalyst for growth when met with determination and grace. The experience reshaped my approach to work. I became a more compassionate leader, one who prioritized empathy and collaboration over ego. I made a promise to myself that I would never treat others the way she had treated me and my team. As for her, she seemed to learn some lessons of her own. Her interactions with the team grew less abrasive, and she started delegating more effectively. While she never explicitly apologized for her past behavior, her actions suggested a newfound awareness of her flaws. In the end, I left that job on my own terms, armed with the confidence to pursue opportunities that aligned with my values. My time there had been a crucible, shaping me into a stronger, more self-assured person. And while I wouldn't wish those challenges on anyone, I couldn't deny that they had been transformative. Looking back, I realized that sometimes the toughest battles lead to the greatest rewards. And though the scars of that experience remain, they serve as a testament to my resilience and a reminder that no challenge is insurmountable.